Tragedy strikes in Quebec. Let me tell you about it. It is shooting at a mosque. So let's go to the Associated Press. A shooting at a Quebec City mosque during evening prayers left 6 people dead and 8 others wounded in an attack that Canada's Prime Minister called an act of terrorism. Police arrested 2 suspects. I appreciate that they are finally calling things what they are. Now, again, Canada is different, obviously, than the U.S. The U.S., it will only call an attack a terrorist attack if a Muslim is the perpetrator. Certainly not if they're victims or right-wingers attack Jewish temples or community centers or museums. Those never get called terrorist attacks. You kill police and you're a right-winger and you put the Gadsden flag on them and you say you murdered them because you're against the government. That's not called terrorism. No matter what your political beliefs are, it's never called terrorism in America unless you're Muslim. Okay, in this case, Muslims are attacked and Canada has the decency to at least call it what it is. I thought the right-wingers were in favor of calling things what they are. So this is a terrorist attack. We'll tell you about who did it. We now have a lot more information on who the shooter apparently was. So we'll get to that in a second. More details. More than 50 people were at the Quebec Islamic Cultural Center at the time of Sunday's attack. Some of the wounded were gravely injured. Quebec Provincial Police spokeswoman Christine Colombo said early Monday. The dead ranged in age from the age of 35 to 70, she said. Now, anytime you have these shootings, of course, you find out the stories of the victims and you see some of the pictures from the event, and it's always heartbreaking. And these are from far away, and you get a sense of, obviously police responding right away, trying to protect the citizens of Canada. And then you read the stories about how some of the victims, of course, had kids. One of them works for the Canadian government in IT. 3 kids at home and a wife. And every terrorist attack, I try to explain to you who the victims are, right? And how heartbreaking it is. Now, most of you know that, but when you think about the kids at home, it really brings it closer to something that everybody can identify with, okay? The same and true of the terrorist attacks in Europe that happened. We talked about those poor guys killed and their family members killed right before Christmas in Germany, let alone France, let alone the U.S., now in Canada. Now, a little bit of context for you guys from the Associated Press. Canada is generally very welcoming towards immigrants in all religions, but less so in the French-speaking province of Quebec, which has had a long simmering debate about race and religious accommodation. A few years ago, the people of Quebec debated a charter of values under the previous separatist government, which called for a ban of ostentatious religious symbols such as the hijab in public institutions. And look, I'm deeply secular, but being secular means that you respect other religions. You just don't commingle the state with religion. Because once you start saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to be fundamentalist and I'm not going to respect your religion because I'm whatever it might be, whether it's atheist, agnostic, or just simply secular. Well, you misunderstood the point of secularism. Because what's the first thing they do? Well, they pick certain religious symbols. In this case, it was the hijab. And it's about one religion in particular. Well, then you're not really secular anymore because you're picking favorites among the religions. And I know their reasoning, oh my God, one religion is worse than others. Do you hear yourself? Now, you could have that point of view, just don't call yourself secular because that's not what you are. You're trying to pick favorites among religions, and that's exactly the opposite of what secular people are supposed to do. Now, me, look, the burqa, I can't stand it. I'm fundamentally opposed to it. But that's my personal opinion. I would not enforce that if I'm in the government because I'm secular. And I wouldn't go talking about your yarmulke or your giant cross that you've got on a chain that you're wearing around because it's not my business. Okay, now again, to be fair to Canada, they've had a great history. In fact, even recently, Justin Trudeau, with this Muslim ban that Trump's talking about, just tweeted, "To those fleeing persecution, terror, and war, Canadians will welcome you. Regardless of your faith, diversity is our strength. Hashtag welcome to Canada." So that's a beautiful sentiment. And so obviously, as we say every time, when a Muslim does it, it doesn't mean that 1.6 million Muslims did it. When a Canadian does it, it doesn't mean all Canadians did it. That's preposterous. Canada has been very welcoming to refugees. They've taken in 39,000, far more, in just Syrian refugees recently, far more than the U.S. has. Okay, now, on the other hand, in Quebec, there have been some disturbing incidents. In the summer of 2016, a pig's head was left on the doorstep of the Quebec Islamic Cultural Center. The incident occurred in the middle of Ramadan when Muslims fast from dawn to sunset. Well, you see, sometimes when they do that, people go, oh yeah, that doesn't really mean anything. Sometimes it does mean something, and they're going to come back and shoot everybody in the mosque and kill 6 of them. So that's what it meant in this particular case. So when people say, oh, you shouldn't be concerned, easy for you to say, you're not the one in jeopardy. So authorities have apparently identified the suspect. They also identified a witness, but they later clarified that the second person was not a suspect, but was simply a witness. The suspect is apparently, and sorry, with all these French names, I'm not going to pronounce them right, Alexandre Bissonnette. So from that picture on Facebook that everybody in the press is using, he appears to be young. And so it is often the young that do this, obviously males. By the way, if you really wanted a profile to stop terrorism, young males would be your #1 category to profile, ban, etc. Now, being a male, I'm not in favor of that. Being rational, I'm not in favor of profiling all young males. But if you want the best indicator of who's going to be a terrorist or going to do some sort of mass shooting, it is young males. Okay, so another case in this situation. But again, has nothing to do with all of the people of Quebec. It has nothing to do with all the young males. It's this one guy who decided to do it. The police in Quebec further clarified. They said following the investigation, the second individual is now considered as a witness. And that was a guy named, I believe, Mohamed Kadir that people were talking about, but it turns out he called it in and was a witness to the attack and was not involved. That is according to the officials in Quebec. And in fact, here, this is their explanation. Newspaper in Quebec, Le Soleil, reports that police now believe a man previously identified as a suspect, Mohamed Kadir, was only a witness and has already been released. So, what is the right strategy to counter terrorism? A smart one that is thoughtful and does not do blanket statements. It's not going to help anybody in Quebec now, let alone the victims, to go on a manhunt for what? Other X, other Y, other Z, other what? People of Quebec? That makes no sense. Other white people? That makes no sense. Other young males, etc. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense when a Muslim does it. It doesn't make sense when a non-Muslim does it. And gee, I wonder if all of the propaganda against Muslims is beginning to have an effect with a Muslim ban in America and this shooting in Canada. And when all the people who say, oh, no, but we just wanted to label Muslims as the other, all we wanted to do was profile them. It's rational to dislike Islam more than the other religions. It's rational to be wary and concerned and suspect about Muslims more than other people. Are you just being irrational by not discriminating against them? No, what you're doing is codifying bigotry that gives, if you will, a safe space for these other people who are already unhinged and who are looking for fame and glory, and that's the last time we'll show his picture in his face, because after the initial report, we don't like to do that, because these guys are all, again, no matter what the religion, background, political affiliation is, they're all looking for glory and fame, and you help them and you enable them when you say, oh, yeah, Muslims are different. They are worse. Hey, I just said profile them. I didn't say ban them. Aren't I being cute? And a clever little trick? I just said profile them, and they're so much more dangerous than other people. I didn't say kill them. Oh, did you mistake that for killing them? And if you don't think profiling based on religion makes you a right-winger, well, then you don't understand anything. You have no ability to do, these guys, some of them fancy themselves intellectuals, which is hilarious. No ability to do any kind of logical reasoning. No, what slippery slope? I don't know what you're talking about. Of course, I just said it was the Muslims. It's the Muslims. I was strong and brave enough to label it what it is, okay? And it has everything to do with Islam, you said. And then when demagogues come in and take advantage of that, and we have shootings and we have bans, etc., don't pretend that you weren't involved. Don't pretend that you didn't create an environment where that was encouraged and eventually leads to results like this. And last of all, don't pretend you're a liberal. because you're not. Bigotry isn't a liberal position. Separating people based on their religion, race, ethnicity, nationality, sexual identity is not a liberal position. It's a right-wing position. Please have the decency to at least name yourself. You love talking about naming things, then name yourself. And don't hide behind liberalism, because what you are is a despicable right-winger. You can help build independent media. We're now doing fundraising to get 4 new investigative reporting teams out there and be the watchers on the wall. We're not going to let Trump get away with anything. We're not going to let the establishment get away with anything. You help us build it. TYTnetwork.com/go. Be part of the solution.